Straight Talk with your host Reggie B. Come on, let's all join in. Free your voice, it's your choice, alright here. Oh, simply straight talk.
I swear to God, he better answer this phone. I'm not playing games with this boy.
Angelique, what's up? I was just about to call you.
Don't WhatsApp me. What the hell is going on with you? I called you last week and you picked up the phone and hung up. And when I called you back, it went straight to voicemail.
I don't know what happened. Melissa said you called me and she sent a text message. I didn't see any missed calls. And I thought the 911 and cold text was just, her playing around or something.
It doesn't matter what you think. If you get the code, you know the score. You get up and roll up, period.
Okay, my bad. Now, will you tell me what's going on?
Didn't Melissa tell you what happened?
She told me something about papers getting served for a restraining order, James telling lies, Andrew believing the lies, and you and Andrew no longer speaking, and then she ended it all with a baseball bat across James' face. I'm like, what is going on?
So, what's the problem? Sounds like you got the information. Did she tell you about her situation?
No, she didn't. What's her situation? Because when I asked her, she sort of just blew me off.
Basically, Tyson lost his job, and now she's having to carry the weight of the household, and I guess homeboy's in his feelings about being dependent on her, and she's running out of money. Now she's barely able to maintain her home and her business.
Wow, I did not know that.
Well, you see, Reggie, when you keep in touch with people you care about, you learn about what's going on in their life.
Well, what about you? How are you doing? I don't mean okay or fine. I mean, how is Angelique mentally and emotionally? How are you doing right now?
I assume you want an in-depth response?
I want your heart's truth. I want the truth.
I'm just confused and just so damn angry. I'm mad right now. My relationship is ending and I have no idea why. My two friends just feel so distant from me right now, and I've got some court date because of some idiot. And to top it off, this asshole is coming out on tops like he's the victim. Yeah, that's the truth about how I'm doing right now.
Look, why don't the three of us get together and figure out how to deal with all of this?
Oh, wait. So Batman wants to come to the rescue after being MIA for the past week or so. You know what? I think the Little Boys Club has done enough, don't you?
Why do you and Melissa keep saying that? I am not a part of anybody's boys club. You should know I have always rolled with the two of you.
Well, the night James told Andrew to dump me and said Melissa wanted him all along with a bunch of other crap, I never saw you riding up in your little Batmobile, but you had no problems riding over to Andrew's house, did you?
Listen, I think you're misunderstanding some things.
You know what? I'm so confused. Who's to say any of you are truthful right about now?
Hey, Simply Straight Talk family. Welcome to the Simply Straight Talk Show, where every topic is a hot topic, and hot topics are all about that real talk. Now here's your host, Reggie.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Simply Straight Talk Show. This is your host, Reggie Maddox. Man, today we're going to be talking about Black self-care. Now, I know this is going to seem like a strange subject because I'm saying Black self-care and not just self-care. I wanted to talk about this because when we hear self-care, a lot of people think of just your appearance, the way you dress, or they think about how you sort of present yourself when you're out in public. You know, they talk about you doing stuff for yourself, buying yourself a cake, buying yourself some flowers, taking yourself on a vacation, doing something, going to get a massage. They think about self-care in that aspect. But self-care has a couple different definitions, and we're going to kind of go over three of them from three different organizations. But I really want to talk about this because when it comes to self-care, me personally now, I believe that Black self-care is something different. And I think we as Black people have to approach it differently than the average other people who engage in self-care. how they see self-care, how they practice self-care. Now, I'm not saying that we can't utilize some of the things they do regarding self-care, but I think we as a whole have something that we need to dig a little deeper in regards to self-care in order to achieve self-care and the ultimate goal of just being at peace, taking care of yourself, being good about yourself. So when I talk about Black self-care, I want to get into the root of some of the tough challenges we face and the issues and concerns that we need to address when it comes to Black self-care. I want you to understand that Black self-care is not just about the physical. It's not just about taking your medicine and eating vitamins. There's a whole other world that we as Black people have to deal with when it comes to self-care. So that's why this show is specifically specifically talking about Black self-care. Now, when we talk about Black self-care, I'm not saying that we don't like other races. I'm not downing other races. I don't have any problem with other races. I just wanted to do this because everybody talks about self-care. But I just think as the Black community, we have to dig a little deeper, and we can't adapt to it the same way they do. We have to understand that there are things we need to address. And in doing that, that's what's going to help us to truly understand self-care as a whole and not just a little portion of it, and not really achieving self-care or falsely deceiving ourselves that we are providing self-care to ourselves. Now, we hear a lot about self-care in commercials, social media, and pretty much scattered throughout all TV genres and everything. Everybody talks about it. There's hashtags all over the place about self-care. But what is self-care? And can Black people adopt self-care practices from other cultures? I really want to know, what do you think? Do you think we can? Do you think we can pull some of the things that they do and utilize those? And is that enough? Is that sufficient to get us to the self-care that we really need as Black people? Now, like I said, this is no offense to other people. And I think there are some things that other cultures do that we can sort of say, okay, we know I kind of like that. Let me implement that. Let me utilize that. You can kind of take bits and pieces to make it work for you. But I think overall, we have things that we have to do that's going to make it work for us. So what is self-care? Okay. Now I'm going to give you 3 definitions of what 3 other organizations sort of list and what they say about self-care. The World Health Organization defines self-care as the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, and maintain health, and to cope with illnesses and disabilities with or without the support of a healthcare provider. I'm not disagreeing with that. You know what I'm saying? That's just their, description of self-care. Now, Psych Central definition of self-care is any activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. All right. I'm not disagreeing with that. Psychology Today says self-care in essence is the mindful taking of time to pay attention to you, not in a narcissistic way, but in a way that ensures that you are being cared for by you. Now, I'm not saying any of those are wrong, and they're not wrong. I think they are kind of vague. Okay, they're sort of general, but you get the idea of what they're trying to say. Now, here we have 3 very broad definitions, or you may prefer descriptions of self-care. In theory, they could apply to anyone, and they could. They really could. Regardless of your race, your background, your heritage, they can apply to anybody. So you're probably wondering, why am I doing a show on Black self-care and stating that we as Black people have to take a different approach to self-care than other cultures? To answer your questions in the simplest way, because we do. Point blank, we do. I'm sorry, but we do, man. We have to have a way of applying self-care to our lives that other cultures really don't have to. They don't have to go through the extent that we have to go through in order to make it work. So, and that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about some of the challenges. Hopefully I'll give you some good tips that you can be able to use and to be able to, implement throughout your day, while you're living, while you're working, while you're with your family, while you're with your friends, whatever you're doing. Okay. But within the Black community, there's a much deeper resolution that must take place within us in order to properly engage in self-care. Our self-care involves understanding our place in the community and in the world outside our community. It requires us to engage each other. I'm talking about Black men and Black women in a non-judgmental mindset, which means eliminating outside world influences and how we see each other. And I think that's really important. It's important that we understand that in regards to self-care, because although self-care is primarily about the person, you're a part of a community. Whether you believe it or not, you are. How you see that community is going to affect your self-care because that's what's around you. One of the crucial things I think you really need to establish before you can even get into self-care is identity. And I think that's something that a lot of Black people / African Americans really struggle with, because we don't have that heritage, that lineage that takes us back to when we can track our family back hundreds of years and actually know, okay, this is where our tradition started. This is what tribe we came from. Was it from Jamaica? Was it from Africa? Was it from the Indian culture? Where do we get our traditions from? And many of us sort of adopted whatever's put on our plate or somebody else brought in our lives, but it's not really ours. So identity is the first step in the process of Black self-care. Knowing who you are, understanding who you are. We live in a world where Black culture is really only popular when it can be exploited for financial gain. Okay? Our hairstyles, our dress, the way we speak, our music, where we live, what we eat, who we interact with, how we act on the job versus in our home environment. All of this constantly places us under a microscope because people are observing all of these things. All of these things. How you wear your hair today. I've never seen people so fascinated about Black people, especially Black women. It's like, oh, she changed her hair. If her hairstyle, some people are just shocked. Others are just amazed, but it's just all of these things. We're constantly under the microscope. Constantly. All of our social behaviors creates misconceptions within ourselves of who we are and affects our ability to be confident about who we are and the things we actually enjoy and have a passion for in life. Many of us have a passion for things, but because we feel that it's not really attached to the Black community, we don't really want to do it. We don't want anybody to know about it. We're hiding it. When you hide your passion, when you hide the things you enjoy, you're hiding. That's who you are. That's part of your identity. The things you really enjoy in life. You may not want to be a lawyer or a doctor, but the things you enjoy, that's part of you. That's your identity. And it's just the fact that too often I have heard somebody tell somebody, you talk white. Black people don't do this or that. When a Black person participates in a genre that is dominated by other cultures, they're usually greeted with, oh, why are you doing that? That's not for us. You shouldn't be doing that. That's for them. That's what they do. But when they enter activities or genres, that's part of the Black culture, everybody goes silent. It's okay. Hey, and then when they're successful, they get all this support. We have to recognize that Black men and women can support each other regardless of what we do. What a person loves and their passion, that's their identity. Think about it. Debbie Thomas became the first African-American medalist in the Winter Olympics, the first Black woman, and she did it in figure skating. What if she never did that? Okay. Mickey Guyton, she made history. 37-year-old singer. She had a song called Black Like Me. Song was nominated for the best country solo performance, making her the first Black female artist to earn a solo nomination in the country music category. Charlie Pride, he was the first Black man to make an impact on country music. Wendell Scott was the first NASCAR driver. Okay. Wally O'Ree was the first Black person to play in the NHL, the hockey league, the National Hockey League. So you see, we can do a lot of things, but the problem is, for some reason, we just seem to want to hide or criticize people for wanting to do what they enjoy. But that's part of their identity. You have to find out who you are, and you have to believe in what you enjoy. If you have a passion for something, that is you. So we have to accept the identity of each other, but you have to accept the identity of yourself. Who you are is who you are. If you like country music, there's nothing wrong with that. You want to sing country music, that's fine. If you like going to NASCAR, that's fine. It doesn't mean you have to stop being black. It doesn't mean that you have to change who you are. That's something you enjoy. So you have to understand that your identity matters, and it should not be restricted to what people feel is only black or only white. Sidney Poitier played some of the greatest movies, and he was often pitted against white people. But I love what he said in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. He said, you see yourself as a black man. That's what he told his father in a scene. He said, but I see myself as a man. You should see yourself, be proud that you're a black woman or a black man, but understand that you are a man or you are a woman, and you can do what you like. You can have it. Embrace your identity. Don't hide your identity. Okay? Because, when we learn that we can just, as black men and black women, remove the social boundaries and career limitations regarding what's for other people and what's for black people, doing this can help us to be more supportive of others as well as believing in ourselves. Your identity is who you are as a person, and that includes your dreams and passion in life. Mindset is the key thing. I don't know how many times I can say this. Your mindset. You have to mentally understand the strategic fight that you're going to be engaged in daily. It could be on the job, walking in stores, or just going out to eat. As a black man and woman, our minds are automatically assessing every room we walk into. On the other hand, people are analyzing us as soon as we walk in a room as well. This is where we have a sense of identity. This is where having a sense of identity leads to confidence mentally and emotionally. So you're not filled with anxiety and fear outside of the private walls of your home. Mentally, you can't allow yourself to become influenced so easily by outside voices, nor inner voices of doubt. It's important to take note, of things that make you feel uncomfortable and create a proactive approach for dealing with these situations emotionally. For instance, if you work or enter an environment where you're the only black person, you may feel as if you have to be on your toes more, monitor how you speak, don't laugh too loud, and speak in a certain tone, and when engaging your coworkers, or, all of this you do because you're trying to eliminate the stereotypes that people may presume about you. At the end of the day, you may end up feeling drained, uncomfortable with yourself, which can lead you to have resentment and frustration in your work environment, with the people around you. Create a journal of the moment that mentally created emotional unrest within you. And when you felt you could not be yourself, don't be afraid to utilize a life coach or a counselor to help you evaluate your feelings, man. Having an outside person and their opinion can be helpful. Expressing your feelings verbally, to someone is much better than holding all that mess in. You know what I'm saying? Because you hold all those emotions inside, it's going to drive you crazy. Mentally, you must understand how to deal with these challenges, because without peace of mind, you cannot achieve self-care. Learn to recognize the fight that requires you to prepare for battle from words or skirmishes that should just be ignored, because they are nothing but a distraction, nothing but just trying to keep you distracted and off your game. So I think it's important that you understand that, your mindset is the key. That's where your self-care starts, with your mind, with your identity, understanding who you are, knowing who you are. It's important, because if you don't have your mind in the right place with the right mindset, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle so much. Self-care is going to be almost impossible for you, because if you don't feel confident about who you are, if you don't feel confident in your mind, then you're going to have a hard time with self-care. So all that stuff about going out and buying you something or doing this for yourself, you're not going to want to do it. Or you're going to be doing stuff that's going to be counteractive to what you're trying to do to improve your confidence and self-care. It's going to work against it. Listen, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back after this message.
Don't even think about it. We got more straight talk just for you. RM Viaging is a company based on life's journey and sharing life lessons with the world in the form of laughter and reflection, inspiring people to go after their dreams and not giving up on life. RM Viaging creates inspirational music and motivational speeches designed to motivate all age groups. Visit our website at www.rmviaging.com to hear samples of our music. You will also find motivational articles on our blog page titled New Life, New Mind Blog. We also have a weekly podcast hosted by Reggie called Simply Straight Talk, all on our website at www.rmviaging.com.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Simply Straight Talk Show. Man, today we talking about Black self-care. Now listen, in the first part of the show, I gave you two situations in which I feel like we need to work on. I talked about identity and I talked about the mindset. Okay? That country Georgia covered out. Listen, when it comes to Black self-care, I really do believe that we have to look at it a little bit differently. I'm not saying what other people do as far as another cultures do as far as self-care is wrong, but I think we have to dig a little deeper because there are some challenges that we deal with that really affect our ability to have efficient self-care practices. And I'm not saying that to, like I said, I'm not trying to down other races, other cultures, or other beliefs. But what I'm saying is we as a Black people face challenges that other groups right now really don't face as much as we do. And I'm talking about as far as the United States as a whole. And I'm talking about the fact that when we talk about Black self-care, it's more than just your appearance. It's more than just eating right. It's more than taking your vitamins. Like I said in the beginning, you got to know who you are. You got to have your identity in place. And when I say your identity, I'm talking about you being you. What do you like? What do you enjoy? What is your passion? You have to be comfortable with who you are and the plans you have laid out for life. You have to be comfortable about the type of people you like hanging around. You have to be comfortable with what you do. You have to be comfortable about how you feel about yourself. You have to be comfortable about what you love. Like I said in the beginning, I talked about in the first part of the show how people will say things when a Black person says, I want to be a country singer. What are you talking about? Well, Black people don't do country singing. Or I want to play hockey. Well, Black people don't play hockey. You know, we always put these labels on certain genres or certain venues, certain activities, and we label them as not being for Black people. But the fact is, why are they not for Black people? When things that we say are for Black people, other people jump in, other coaches jump in. We got so many people doing rap. We got so many people playing, everything. Take it like this. Basketball wasn't really made for Black people. We have to understand that we cannot limit ourselves. We cannot limit our option and our choices based on the fact that we feel that's not for us because they do it. Originally, it wasn't done because we weren't allowed to do it. But if you have a passion for something, then follow it, then do it. Because you could be the one that changed the game. You could be the one that opened the door and be the one that people say, you know what? I didn't think we can do this, but I can do it now. Look at what Venus and Serena Williams did. More Black women understand now that we can go to tennis and win. Now, granted, Zena Garrison played before them. Now, you also have Arthur Ashe, who played tennis, won the Wimbledon. So we can do things. And I told you, The first black person to be a part of NASCAR. The first person to play in the NHL. We can't limit ourselves. We have to have our identity. Your identity is you. Is you. And we talked about the mindset you need to have. You got to have a good mindset, which means you need to look at your life and not be distracted. You got to have a mindset that doesn't limit you. You got to have a mindset because when we walk out into the world, we're already being analyzed. We're already being judged. When you walk into certain convenience stores, when you walk into certain jobs, even around certain coworkers. So we always feel like we have to do twice as much. We have to be on our toes. And mentally, that can be very stressful for a person. So for you to achieve self-care, you have to have control of this. You have to be able to control those feelings, those thoughts. And that's why I mentioned, sometimes maybe having somebody you can talk to, whether it's a life coach, whether it's a counselor, somebody where you can release those feelings and get some clarity and learn how to deal with that. And sometimes it's stuff that you shouldn't even worry about. That's why I say pick your battles. A lot of times we are distracted mentally because we're fighting mental battles against something that shouldn't even be a battle. You have to have control of your mind in order to achieve self-care. Now, that's what I'm saying. Black self-care means mentally you got more to deal with than the average person. That's my opinion. As a black man, I feel I do have more to deal with. I have more challenges mentally. And as a black supervisor or a black person in leadership, you have more mental challenges than the average person. Because anytime you're a black person, you're in charge, and the majority of the organization above you is not black, is other people, other cultures, you are under the spotlight. They automatically expect you're going to show favoritism towards your own. That's why you see some black people are harder on other black people in the workspace because they don't want to be labeled or stereotyped or have false presumptions against them. But you got to have your mind right to achieve self-care. But what I want to talk about now is physical and emotional division. And I think this is what really hinders black self-care. It hinders self-care in the black community. Because have you noticed how many programs on TV, radio, and other streaming platforms are speaking to uplift and empower certain groups? Right now, it's all about empowering women, and they're empowering black women. And they're constantly being highlighted. And I love that. I love to see our black women succeed. And women of other cultures are being highlighted. Men from other cultures are being highlighted. But black men are only highlighted when they are pro athletes or they're killed by the police. The black community never celebrates the accomplishments of a black person, but only that of a black woman or the occasional black male. Other cultures see achievement as for a whole, but not us. Everything with us is the black woman did this, the black woman did that, the black man did something, he did this. We cannot have self-care in the black community unless we have self-care in the black community as a whole, which means we have to see each other as people. We cannot have division. We cannot separate how we celebrate each other. We must celebrate each other without creating a gender war that everybody benefits from but us. Self-care is about the individual, but the individual is also tied to the community. You cannot despise your own and proclaim you are of peace with yourself. Being proud of being black, being a black man or a black woman doesn't mean that you hate other people. It means that you love yourself without doubt. And physically and emotionally, if you are divided, okay, or we as a black community is divided, then how can we preach self-care? How can we have self-care? If your self-care is with a mindset that is all about black women, is all about black men, then you don't have peace inside because you're struggling with issues against men or you're struggling with issues against women. Black self-care has to be a part of the black community saying, if a black man or black woman does something, the community as a whole celebrates We don't celebrate based on gender. Well, women can celebrate. Because if that's the case, they're going to keep black men under the marker and never let a black male be celebrated. They're right now, they're loving celebrating the black woman because they feel like the black woman is what they need to get to their next step or their next level. But black self-care should be about celebrating the community as a whole. And if you want to have self-care, even if you just want to take the word black off of it, if you want to have self-care, then self-care means you got to be at peace with the people around you. And that's everybody. But if you're not at peace with the people that look like you, your own people, how are you going to have peace with the people around you? Because you're never going to feel like you're fully accepted by anybody. Need to have peace, and physical and emotional division will be a barrier between you and true self-care. You're never going to have self-care or be able to attain self-care if you have physical and emotional division from the people that look like you or other people around you. You cannot have it. Self-care is more about the inner feelings and emotions and mindset that you have. It's more than just changing your clothes or buying you a piece of cake on your birthday or a flower for a day. Self-care is about you, the person inside, having that peace of mind, having that understanding that you're comfortable with who you are. You believe in yourself. You don't just celebrate black women doing something, you celebrate black men. You know, we got to get out of this whole thing of black person. We got to get out of this whole thing of black women do this, black men do this. And we got to be able to say a black person achieved this. And we all celebrate. That's between identity, between mindset, and physical and emotional division are the three things that we really need to start working on in order to achieve true black self-care. Those are things that we have to deal with because we deal with those things every day. And somebody probably saying, well, you know what? I don't think that's a part of self-care. It is a part of self-care. Because if you don't have peace in the environment around you, or if you can't find peace in the people that look like you or be around them and don't feel good, then you got some issues that you need to address mentally. You're dealing with some emotional and mental concerns. I don't want to say illness, but mental issues that you got concerns about the people that surround you. You have to be comfortable in your environment. Self-care is understanding your environment and finding peace within your environment because all that affects you is what's in you. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with the final thoughts of today's show.
We'll be back with your host, Reggie, on Simply Straight Talk.
Hey, this your man Reggie here. Are you looking for some fresh new music? Are you looking for an artist that's got that positive vibe and that positive flow, that knows how to flow lyrically? Then man, you need to check out Tone G Music with songs like Buzzin', Good Deeds, and Pick Up the Phone. Now these songs are available on Apple Music and other digital platforms. Tone G brings that positive vibe in everything he does. And the music he brings with the reggae style and that smooth lyrical flow, oh, you know what to do. Y'all check out Tone G Music.
Are you ready for the straight truth? Reggie, what's the final word for today?
Hey, welcome back to the final thoughts of today's show. Man, today we talked about self-care, but I called it black self-care because I feel like as black people, we have some things that mentally and emotionally that we have to deal with, you know, within society, within ourselves, that we have to overcome in order to get to the self-care process where they start talking about, you know, buying yourself this and buying yourself that and buying another suit. Listen, you can do all that stuff. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But until you're able to become comfortable and establish your identity of who you are, and until you're able to really get your mindset really prepared and strategically under control to where you can deal with the challenges you face throughout the day. And I'm talking about the movements, all the negative stuff, until we can see each other, black men and black women, as not just, oh, a black woman did good or a black man did good, but a black person did good. And we start promoting each other as a whole. When we get to the point to where we start to recognize who we are on the inside, what really makes us happy, What is really our passion until we become comfortable about the things that we do consider to be our passions and not ashamed of it. We have to be confident in who we are. We have to believe in who we are. You have to believe in yourself. You have to want to be the person that you want to be in your life. You can't be falling under labels. You can't live in fear and anxiety. You have to establish your identity. Establish your identity. Get your mindset right of the challenges you face out in the world. That's a big part of Black self-care. Black self-care is all about you finding out who you are, going after your passion, getting your mind right. Okay? Learning to deal with the negative stuff, learning to deal with the stereotypes and the false presumptions about you, but just being comfortable to walk through all that without feeling like you got to go to war. And some people say, well, when you get in the workplace, you got to act like this, you got to act like that. Listen, you can be professional any place, anywhere, anytime. We understand that. The workplace means you're just professional. You show common courtesy, professional courtesy, and you're just a professional person. So we know the difference between being professional and being hood and street in the work environment. But do you take that home? You have to be able to be you. So you can be that professional person on the job, closing the deals, making all the moves, but you can also not go home with resentment, feeling like you sold your soul out. Be confident in who you are. Black self-care, get your mind right. Get your mind being confident in you. What are the things you want to do? Start going after the things you want to be and be yourself. Not in a negative way, in a positive way. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But it's really about you finding out who you are, getting your mindset right to where you're having a more positive outlook, where you're doing more than just dressing your appearance. You're actually getting your heart right. You're getting your mind right. You're getting your spirit right to where you are happy, really happy. So when you laugh, you laugh. So you're comfortable in your situation and you're comfortable with being you. That is self-care. But like I said, Black self-care means there are things we got to deal with that some other people may not deal with. And you have to address that before you just start saying, I'm going to go get my hair done. I'm going to go get a haircut. I'm going to buy a pair of shoes. I'm going to start working out to lose weight so I can either get big muscles or wear a bikini, whatever you're trying to do. Until you get those aspects right regarding your identity, your mindset, and your physical and emotional divisions that we have, self-care is going to be a challenge. Hey, thank you for checking out the show, man. I appreciate everybody. Y'all make sure y'all come back next week. And I got a surprise because somebody's coming back. Y'all be here to check it out because you know who it is, or do you? All right, see you next week.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Simply Straight Talk podcast. Make sure you visit our website at rmviagem.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Libsyn, SoundCloud, or Spotify, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that will help us out too. Thank you, and see you next week.